Bearden High School, located in a well-off suburb, has 1,944 students and 104 teachers as of 2014. Columbine High School, in comparison, had 1,945 students in 1999, according to CNN, and was also located in an affluent suburb. On the surface, Bearden and Columbine share many similarities, but Columbine's name has become synonymous with something that Bearden hopes never to be. Yet, it is unignorable that if such a tragedy could occur at Columbine, it could also happen at Bearden. Incredibly tight-knit, Columbine did not have any anomalies that predisposed it to the shooting. The shooters, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, also did not grow up with any unusual circumstances. Days before the shooting occurred, choruses of rang out from the student body, and Eric and Dylan both had friends, loving families, and potential to succeed. Yet, on April 20th, 1999, they opened fire anyway, changing school security as we know it.
I remember weird things happening in school after that. We had to wear IDs around our neck when we walked around school, and there were new things put in place to kind of protect from that.
For one, active shooter protocol changed. Instead of securing the perimeter like they did in Columbine, armed forces now try to neutralize the shooter immediately. Cops at Columbine waited around the school for hours not knowing the status of the shooters, if they were still shooting, or who the shooters even were, allowing much misinformation to spread. Schools have also significantly increased their security measures since then. Some of the common school security upgrades include metal detectors, security cameras, required ID badges, enforced dress codes, banned or see-through backpacks, and on-campus police officers. These often costly security measures have been the subject of much controversy, specifically over the rights of students and invasion of privacy.
It's a fine line, and we walk it very carefully. And you walk a fine line between making it feel like a prison and making it feel like a school. Could we be safer? Could we make it safer? Yes. But then anytime we make it safer, we creep into that prison-like atmosphere. So we walk this fine line to make sure it doesn't happen.
At Bearden, for example, our gates except for the main entrance remain locked during school hours, and we have members of the KPD here at all times, a buzzer system to enter the front door, and random weapon checks. The number one security system, however, is the student body. Since Columbine, an increased awareness and communication about safety has been fostered in schools, and students have been encouraged to report any threats or unusual behavior that they come across.
I think it's important that if somebody sees something or hears something weird, they do need to report it.
Students are the most important security thing we have here. Okay? A student talking and paying attention to what another student's doing, and they see that another student's struggling in an area or isolated in an area or perhaps is threatening in an area, they bring that to light to us, and then we take care of, we do what we can.
In addition to these precautions, student privileges such as dress code and the termination of off-campus lunches has added to Bearden's security. Schools now also practice regular lockdown drills, so the students are well prepared in the event of a shooting.
When we go into soft lockdown, typically, it could mean a lot of things. It could mean a drug search. Could mean something happening in the community. We went a couple years ago, it's about 4 or 5 years ago now, we went into a soft lockdown, which became a hard lockdown because the bank actually in back of us was robbed.
I do remember back a few years ago when there was the shooting threat, and they brought in more security just for that, and that was a little bit overwhelming. And I feel like the amount of security we have now is a good amount because it is able to keep us safe without being overwhelming and without scaring people.
Columbine was the first real school shooting incident at a school, public school. So versus going and taking a posture of locking down the outside of the school so we can get in, the mindset has changed to where we are going to go in and go straight to the active shooter or whatever's happening in the school at that point.
Mental health has also been prioritized since Columbine. While Eric and Dylan were not in fact bullied or outcast in their community, anti-bullying programs have come out as a result of the reporting after the Columbine shooting. Mental health counseling has become a norm in many U.S. schools, especially after Columbine. Students are often screened by counselors and school psychologists to determine their level of danger to others and themselves. Mental health counseling is needed for safety reasons, but it's also an essential part of therapy for these troubled students.
Therapy is something that's probably needed parents have to approve of that, parents have to take it, there's all of that into it. So there is more we could do, but within the realm of the school day and kind of what we're allowed to do, I think that we do a pretty good job.
Taking in all the changes since Columbine, we decided to interview a random sample of current Bearden students, asking them if they simply feel safe.
I feel, decently safe. I mean, nothing's for sure, but I feel as safe as I do at the mall or, home, anywhere.
I feel pretty safe. It's a very safe school. I haven't really seen anything to be afraid of.
I feel pretty safe.
I feel pretty safe, around the community.
I feel like we have enough security here.
We agree with the general student population. Bearden is a safe learning environment, and there is no perfect solution to eliminate threats. However, we find that there is always room for improvement.
There's a lot of safety measures here in the building that we've implemented. The buzzing system, those type of things. The truth of the matter is, the buzzing system, cameras, school personnel, school security, makes us what we call a hardened target.
A hardened target, as Dr. Bartlett called Bearden High, is a target that is much less likely to be attacked. Despite the measures already in place here at Bearden, gaps still remain in school safety.
You take Sandy Hook, for instance. Sandy Hook had all those things. The elementary school had a buzz-in, the door was locked, they had cameras, they had everything you wanted. A guy with a machine gun came in and shot the window out. The fact is, the buzzer system's not going to work if somebody's going to shoot the window out.
Safety. The most obvious gap is that our locked side doors are only locked in theory. Some of them are unlocked past noon, says a student who arrives around that time every day. Additionally, any student walking by would, although begrudgingly, let anyone knocking on the doors in that didn't pose an immediate threat. And while the buzzer system is a good start, everyone that presses it is usually allowed in without comment. No one sits at the entrance to ensure that the person just buzzed in makes his or her way into the West Mall office to check in.
I like to have enough security officers. We would have one at the front door at all times. So when somebody walks in the front door, they're greeted by somebody with a gun, with a badge, but with a smile and say, okay, you go to the office, make sure people aren't walking through the halls or aren't supposed to do that type of stuff.
One way to improve our security is to strengthen the security system for the front door and add additional security for the other main entrances. While an officer is supposed to be manning the front door, that is not always the case. A permanent officer should be stationed by the front door to oversee and to ensure that all visitors are escorted to the office immediately to check in with the administration. This permanent officer should be able to interact pleasantly with students while also enforcing a respect for authority, much like many Bearden teachers do. This could encourage better future relations between young people and police officers. Also, additional camera buzzer systems should be installed into the doors by the pit and the gym doors, two of the most frequently used entrances. That way, students would no longer have the excuse of saying that they did not want to walk all the way around to the main entrance when they begin to bang on the doors and beg the passerbys to let them in. This would also give the office more eyes on the comings and goings of Bearden students and visitors. Having students show their IDs to the camera before their entry would be an effective addition to the buzzer system that will not only solve Bearden's problem, but prepare students for college where they will be expected to carry their IDs constantly. If the money did allow, equipping students with magnetic key cards similar to the teachers would also be a good idea to minimize the number of outsiders allowed unknowingly. Improvements have been made nationally and locally since the tragedy of Columbine, and authors like Dave Cullen continue to expose the flaws that have been made during the shooting and in the aftermath to new readers every day. We aim to do the same and make recommendations according to those flaws that we observed in Bearden. To ensure our recommendations are heard, we have drafted a bill for potential congressional sponsors that would allow for all Tennessee schools to experience the same level of safety and security. There would be obvious additional expenses, but these expenses are necessary. Tennessee needs a more uniform and ubiquitous school security program. Every child should be safe and protected at school by more than just a line of dangling bells that used to hang at Ritta Elementary School, as Knox News Sentinel reported. While Knox County Schools have taken steps toward safe schools, more can always be done.